Um, I mean, I think I'd be more aerated right now if that wasn't so massively predictable. I think like the sort of the meme after us not only beating Dortmund in the week but playing really well was, of course, we're going to go and lose to Burnley. We all but lost to Burnley, didn't we? Like just a whisker away from losing that game. It was a game that we started really well, great, and that will mean if he does stay in the job, we'll be treated to another press conference where he tells us that the club is playing well, the team is playing well in moments, and we need to keep that. His pre-match presses are the same thing over and over and over again, which is we need to keep the consistency that we had for that bit in the first half or that bit in the second half. We need to replicate that across the whole game. Yeah, mate, like you're telling us. You don't like just don't know. It was a good performance against Dortmund. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. It was a very not good performance today. It was really, really poor. It was really, really bad. Like I say, first half we were all right. We started off quite well, didn't we? Until they scored. And then second half was just a no-show from Tottenham. Barring one moment from Romero, it was almost a complete no-show. I'm actually genuinely, I'm not even like, I'm not furious. Like the West Ham game, I was fuming. I was losing my behind, head falling off on Mars, Jupiter, wherever it was. Today, it just feels so blindingly obvious. I did Fighting Cock in the week, and Flav was kind of asking us, what do you want? What do you want from him now? And he stated his own opinion, which was he still wants him gone. He wanted him gone a little bit less than before Dortmund, but he still wanted him gone. And I felt that way. The fact that we played so well against Dortmund was I had that moment, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. I had that moment of thinking, Solanke back in the mix, having a doggy at left back, having players that are supposed to be playing where they are meant that Spurs looked a bit better. And I kind of thought, well, he has had to deal without Maddison, Kulusevski. Maybe he needs a bit more leeway or whatever, but it's just not good enough, is it? It really isn't good enough. Today is just really poor. And I get the sort of the argument that this team isn't very good, the squad isn't good enough. I agree that the squad isn't good enough. Look, like let's get the proper context here. When people say the squad isn't quite good enough, I think we need to sort of reframe that as in the squad isn't quite good enough to win a Premier League. The squad isn't good enough to do what Arsenal are doing right now, what Liverpool have done before them, right? I get that. I get that the squad isn't good enough for that. The squad is definitely good enough, in my opinion, to not be in the sort of state that it's in right now. I mean, look, the thing is, a lot of this is, and I'm sort of, I'm just saying this to myself as much as I am to really anybody else. A lot of this is us being, to a slight degree, caught up in like the emotion of it all. I don't like seeing Spurs this bad. I don't like seeing Spurs play this unambitiously. But as they pointed out before this match, Spurs are closer to the European places than they are to the relegation places, as much as the conversation is about Spurs getting relegated. So I take that on board, to a degree. I don't know if that still stands, but still, you can take that on board to a degree. But again, is this is that really like where Spurs should be weighted? Is that the sort of the silver lining for fans who are paying, amongst some of the highest ticket prices in Europe to go and watch their team play football? And yes, I know, don't start with the conversation about buying an expensive ticket doesn't guarantee you a good price. No, it doesn't, but it does guarantee that people are going to be annoyed, right? So, that's just how it goes. I just don't think Frank is cut out for this. And I was saying, on Fighting Cock, whatever way you look at it, in my opinion, he's walking the mile. Even if after that Dortmund game he used that as a springboard, unless something mental happens, like Conte, was it Conte? I think it was Conte's Chelsea, wasn't it? The year they beat us to the title in 16-17, when I think they lost a really weird game. They lost, I think it was even against us. They lost and then they went and won like 18 games in a row or something mental. If we did something like that, then fine, you might have a question as to whether or not Frank got sacked. But if he'd have built on that Dortmund game and we'd started to win a few, still lose a few, but win a few, and we finished top half of the table, you would still say he was probably walking the green mile. I think the feeling is strong enough with enough of the fan base that he should go. I don't think he ever claws that back. I think for a lot of people, he could even go and win the Premier League from here. And there'd be a lot of people that would just will never be on board with him. I think there is a toothpaste out the tube level of toxicity associated with Thomas Frank. And I don't think there is enough in anything that he's doing to give him a pass for that, to get him off the hook for that. Like I say, I'm not foaming at the mouth about it. I'm not, my head's not falling off or anything like that. I was happy that we equalised. I was, I've seen a few people say, I kind of wish we hadn't equalised so it could be definitively lights out for him. I don't think that would have necessarily meant it was lights out for him. I would like to think the people making those decisions aren't going to be as reactive to us getting a last minute equaliser. What is it, 93rd minute equaliser against Burnley? Where, my point is, if they were going to sack him, if we lost, to then suddenly not sack him because of that, the performance was dirge. Really bad. I think if he was going to get sacked for a loss, he should still get sacked for this. I was happy that Spurs equalised because I'm a Spurs fan. I love Spurs. I don't want us to go down. People can keep saying we're not going to go down. Don't get your knickers in a twist about it. But I don't think that's necessarily guaranteed. And clawing back results like today is, puts a bit more space between us and that miserable reality. But what are we to do? It just feels like things are in stasis. We're giving him Andy Robertson. Does another manager take Andy Robertson? Is that a backing for him? To be honest, I can't really be bothered to get into it now, but I don't mind. I think people are going a little over the top about the Andy Robertson deal, to be honest. I think he'll be here 18 months and he'll be fine. And he might raise the standards a bit in training or whatever, That's what I kind of hope from him. I'm not, people say, he's washed, his legs are gone. I'm not really expecting him to play like week in, week out for us, if I'm brutally honest. But I can't, I don't want to open that. I have done, haven't I? I can't talk about it and then say I don't want to open that Pandora's box when I've literally done just that. But don't come at me. I can't be bothered today. I can't. It's it's done, isn't it? Isn't it just done? We can worry about who comes in, who the interim is at that point. I reckon it'll probably be Ryan Mason. That's just kind of my sort of gut feel on it, is that they would go get Ryan Mason in. Beg your pardon. Go get him in and see what he can do. But I don't have the the emotion in me from today. It's I'm pretty flat after that. Pretty flat watching Spurs just do that kind of thing again. And it's overall it's quite sad. I think it's quite sad to see Spurs play as well as they did against Dortmund, because we know that it's in there. We know that they have the capability to play really well. We can say what we want about the German league being a farmers' league and all that type of thing. We obviously have the ability to play really well when we want to. So why it just disappears like that? And yep, I think the players can take some culpability. I do think they maybe need to take a long, hard look at themselves, and I nod to that kind of Andy Robertson deal, the standard raising and all that type of thing. But also, it is the manager's job to inspire his players. It's the manager's job to be able to inspire better performances out of these players, in part. And he's just obviously not doing that. You know, he's obviously not doing that. Ridley says, "Here we go again." And on Nomad says, "Can't beat the bottom three, but can beat Dortmund." This is it, isn't it? You know? And again, like, you know, it is that worrying thing, isn't it? If we're not picking up wins against the bottom three, where are we getting them? Again, I sort of, you know, cast your attention to our February fixtures. It ain't looking good, bruv. Deuces Wild says Xavi is, oh, here we go, spicy. Xavi is an Ndombele level misstep, an incompetent reaction to missing out on our main targets. I'm gonna, Joe, I'm gonna keep my powder dry on that one at the moment, Deuces. I'm not saying you're entirely wrong, and I'm not, you know, I'm not judging you or whatever for feeling that way. I find myself at times too getting frustrated with Xavi, but I do look at games like the Dortmund game and I think he was brilliant. There's other examples of him being really good. Maybe the West Ham away game, I want to say he was really good in that. I think there's a lot of ability there. I would like to reserve judgment until we see him playing under an actually kind of progressive manager, a manager that can actually coach attacks. Because, yeah, you know, I think it's hasty, but I get it. It's frustrating. You know, he's a big money summer signing. We want to see him just hit the ground running immediately and, you know, dominate for us, and he's not doing that. And I'm not at all pretending I'm immune to the frustration of that. I'm not above that. I find it kind of irritating as well. You know, maybe your reasons go deeper than that. I'm not trying to. Whatever. I'm not. So pathetic. I'm not trying to belittle what you're saying. Do you know what I mean? I'm just saying whatever. Grow a backbone, man. Me, I'm saying that to myself. See, look, even then, I'm trailing back on it. Please don't let anyone think I'm bothering them. What an amiable whelk. Well, I didn't used to be like this. Do you know what I mean? I thought you were supposed to get like harder and more horrible as you get older. I'm getting more wet. I get more soft the older I get. All this bleary eyes kind of, aren't we great? I'm so proud of this team. A great European side. Shut up, mate. Go back to the old stuff, you know. You used to do all that edgy humour in your cartoons, you know. What won't he say, right? I don't do any of it nowadays, do I? Too afraid of, you know, saying boo to a goose. I don't think that's like an old racist saying, is it? Apologies if it is. I don't know why. Look, again, it's just the internet. I'm too online. Saying boo to a goose, I don't think that's coded with anything, is it? I don't know. Moldy Pickle says, why did this result feel inevitable? I mean, it did, didn't it? Like, from as soon as they equalised, you got into the second half even. As soon as the second half started rolling in, I was saying to the lads, this stinks. This absolutely reeks now of Tottenham losing, because it felt like we were pretty like bluntly knocking the ball about in Burnley's half. But every time they plucked the ball off of us, it felt like they sort of ran forward with some actual meaning, some purpose, some menace. And there was very little from that from Tottenham until like the 91st minute, when it looked like we were going to lose. It's pathetic. Big Y says, I despise him in every way. Another draw. We can't sack him. I don't know. We'll see. Jack Underhill says, I'm not being glib. Romero, player manager, tonight. When you said tonight, I hope you slammed a hand on the table. And everyone in the room chattering around you, and you said, tonight, slammed your hand on the table, and everyone went quiet. Like the old kind of, which is the one, is Pride and Prejudice, Mr. Darcy, isn't it? The dad. He commands the room, doesn't he? He's a very nice, kind man, but they all listen to him. Good old patriarch. Ricky, if it just as a segue, Lads Anonymous Fighting Cock, he does Lads Anon, and he was talking about, he did an episode where he was talking about all the books he likes and doesn't like. And he was saying that he thinks Jane Austen is awful. And I just want to say, I want to put on record that I think he's just trying to show off in front of the lads. Like it's not all like frilly knickers and all that type of thing. It's good. It's good social satire, Jane Austen. All right. So anyone that's just picked up on me referencing it there and thinks, ooh, look at him, it's good. All right. Read a bit of Austen. It's decent. But you weren't expecting that, were you? But you weren't expecting that. Don't all leave at once. Sorry, lads. Football, eh? Bloody hell. Surprised the missus is letting you watch this as well as the game, eh? What is she like? Bloody hell. I'm just, do you know what I mean? Enes 1 billion yen says, don't you think we just need to add more layers in a heavy Danish accent? Brackets. Maybe we need some top layers, and then we need to get top performances out of the top layers. Then we got to push those top performances to the top of our minds at the top of every moment. Blah, blah, blah. Jack Underhill also says, worst result. We are woeful. Maybe 17% pass accuracy today. Scrap a point from 2 centre-back goals. Why is it always our centre-backs? Why is that the only players that score for us? We're Tottenham Hotspur. Our defenders score goals. Ben Mathis says, they can't even take deserved criticism from our own fans. No chance they're up for a relegation scrap when the chips are down. Chips. You know that when you just fancy like chips. Obviously it's an affliction I have probably more than the average gentleman, but still, when you want it, nothing will quite do, will it? Like, I'll be interested to know. Let me know in the comments, crispy fries or like fat, floppy, greasy chip shop chips. I'm fat and floppy myself. John Benfield says, our issue now is that we have no winnable games past Frankfurt. What manager wants to start with the run that we have in February? They may stick with him through that, then sack him. Kind of makes sense, John, actually, to be fair, mate. You might be onto something there. By Jove, he's right. Hacker CPS says we need to wait on sacking Frank. City is a must lose. We're not going to lose to them. You know we're not. We're going to lose every other game and beat them 5-0, 5-1 maybe. Big Y says the only player I care about keeping is Romero. I'd be lying if I said there are any of them now that I dread the thought of losing. I'm genuine. I'm just sort of having to stop myself and just think, are there any, does the thought of losing any of them actually strike fear into me? No. And I mean that quite honestly. There isn't a single player that I feel, you know, like there's a lot of talk that Mickey van der Ven wants out. Spurs Twitter reacted in the way that it does. It's the end of the world. Why are we doing that? We're washed as a club. You know, maybe I am part of the problem, right? Maybe it literally is, right? Me sat here talking to myself. That is the whole reason for Tottenham Hotspur's failure, right? Maybe that is literally it. It's fans like you, fans like me. But when I say fans like you, I'm talking about somebody else talking to me. It's fans like you, that mean this club achieves nothing. Damn. What can I do? Come on here and say, actually, I think from here we're going to go and win the league. Does that mean, I don't know, does that mean we do it? If I sit and say, actually, no, I think Mickey van der Ven is crucial. Let's ignore the fact he got skinned for the second goal. And, you know, despite his brilliant athleticism, often shows that he's not the best defender. I should say that actually, if we sell our footballer, the club is not only is the club going to implode, the sort of the black hole that has been reportedly floating around the Milky Way. Keep up with space news if you haven't heard about that. The black hole that's apparently marauding its way through the Milky Way, that's actually going to swallow the fabric of our solar system whole. It's going to reduce it to just nothing, to matter, to less than matter, to antimatter. That might not be a scientific explanation of what happens when a planet goes through a black hole, but still, that is what's going to happen. And unless you say that, Spurs will never do it, because fans like you don't like to admit that if a player leaves the club, that's it. It's done. It's all done. So if Mickey van der Ven goes, everything, you might as well just write it all off. It's all done. It all goes. Everything goes forever. If Mickey van der Ven leaves Tottenham. Ample Sample says, hands up who's got, it was a good point away from home and it's a tricky place to go. Mitch K32 says, just one more game and he'll get it right. I promise. Maybe. Bill Argy says, hi, Jack. I used to think it was hyperbole when you said we might get relegated. I owe you an apology. I wasn't familiar with your mystic meg abilities. It's all right, mate. It's all right. You know, takes a bit of time. Takes a bit of time for people to, you know, catch up with my, what's the term I'm looking for? Is it clairvoyant? What's a clairvoyant? Is that somebody who can see the future? I don't know. Whatever it is. I don't even know what I'm going on about, mate. Sorry. Welcome in Pieces says, hello, mate. Sigh, we're crap, aren't we? Just looked at our games against the 7 teams below us. We have 14 points out of 30. That's pretty gross, isn't it? Stagger says, how is he still here? Watch this space. Let's see. Phil Mayo says 6 from 15 versus the dross of the league. 6 wins from the last 22. Echosonic Music says, I really don't like the Mardy look on Van der Ven's face most of the time these days. You can't blame him, mate. You can't blame him. You can't blame him, you know. He's completely out of the fortunes of this football team are completely out of his hands. You can't blame him. You can't blame him. You can't blame a bloke that's paid, what, 100 grand a week to do a job. You can't blame him. You can't blame him. You can't blame him. Fans like you, see? That's what I'm saying. Fans like you. It's fans like you. It's not the players today, right? It's not the players today that let us down. It's not Thomas Frank. It's fans like you, mate, right? Not like in the faces of players. Fans like you. Nick from Venn says, I'm worried. He's completely out of his depth and nobody in the boardroom seems to want to acknowledge that. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? They want to keep taking him for lunch as opposed to sacking him, don't they? What's the obsession with lunch? Do you know what I mean? What are they doing? Maybe that's why we're so bad. Is he busy going to lunch all the time? Oh, what other job? Especially ones that are like that. Yeah, we always hear, oh, it's such a high-pressured environment. It's at lunch all the time. I work from home a lot of the time and I don't even take a lunch break. You know what I mean? Pirate Dread Roberts says millions and millions of pounds. Millions of pounds to go for lunch. He had a little quip, didn't he, in the pre-match press? Oh, it was a chicken sandwich I had for lunch, actually. You're a thin ice fella. Like, do you know what I mean? What are you making fun of, right, with your quips? Oh, it's just our Danish humour, is it? Not here, mate. Not here, all right? Deniso Zerk says, mate, how much more of this do we have to put up with? Surely he's getting the sack soon. Is he? Is he? Stagger says, it's not the money, it's the many, many hours travelling up and down the country to watch this rubbish. Yeah, fair. If you've done it, mate, today, fair play to you. Mitch K says, 3 matches against teams who hadn't won in ages, where we needed points ahead of a brutal February. We picked up 1 point from 9. Without Romero's heroics, we would not have a single point. Benedict Fox says, context has to be given to the Dortmund game. The second worst team in the Prem is better than the second best team in the Bundesliga. Dan J. Deere says, I think the board are going to wait until after the City game. Francesco Sido says, it's time to go. Pirate Dread Roberts says, so tactically naive. How do you play the same system as Dortmund to incredibly different clubs with different tactics and philosophies? Frank is truly an idiot. Anku Myron says, if Frank won us the Premier League, build the statue and rename the stadium after him. Yeah, but, you know, we don't have to worry about that, do we? I don't think. Anon Nomad says, F me. Robertson, though, we're back in the naughty, signing better clubs dregs, thinking somehow experience has any bearing on a modern football match. I think I get it, right? I get that the sort of the popular thing now is to scoff at proper football men and laugh at players having passion and all that type of thing. I think people write that stuff off a bit too freely. I do. You know, in any working environment, somebody with a bit of experience, a bit of know-how, a certain personality type is beneficial, right? That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's going to suddenly, turn us into some incredible side. I don't mind it. And yeah, I get it. Like, we're back in the noughties, but maybe we are back there, mate. Unfortunately, like, we have sort of slipped away from the top, and maybe there's a part just on our side. There's an ego that we need to kill here that says we can't do deals like this, because maybe that is where we are again. Maybe we are signing Edgar Davids. I think that was what Jack Pitt-Brook, that was his hypothesis on this one. He likened it to the Edgar Davids deal back in the day. And maybe that's where we're at again. I don't know. I just think I don't have enough energy to get that wound up about Roberts. I'm not backflipping over it. I'm not like over the moon about it. I can see some positives. I'm not going to pretend that I can't. But I think there's still loads more to do. I do, I've seen like people say, like, you can't add Robertson into this team. We need loads of attacking players. I don't think those two like necessarily contradict one another. I've seen other people say, we had this strict wage structure for years and years and years, and now we're breaking it for Conor Gallagher and Andy Robertson. We actually broke it for Xavi Simons, by all accounts. So again, I think there's a selective kind of take on what's happening here. It's not to say those are the only players that are going to be players that we break our wage structure for. I think if anything, you need to see it as promising that we've had Everton, Villa, Newcastle spending loads on wages and leapfrogging us. And now Spurs are suddenly like, well, we got to start spending more on wages because we've been spending way under the sort of the median for wages. So again, maybe this is just us catching up a bit. I don't mind it. I don't like. I'm not going to pretend that my head's all over the place about us signing Andy Robertson. I don't mind it. Don't love it, but I don't mind it. I would say I'm probably a centrist star on it, but I'm veering towards liking it. Let's say it that way. But I don't love it. No, I don't see it as a game-changing signing. I see him as a player that's padding out the squad a bit. Tim Muscali says, told you after the Dortmund game to stop mentioning relegation. I apologise. It's quite all right. Day Spurs says, hit up the likes. Yeah, go on. Yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, like, subscribe. I'm close to 4,000 subscribers now on YouTube. So thank you to everybody that has subscribed of late. And if you are watching, if you've just sort of found this, go on. Give it a like, go on. Get it up to 4,000. If you're listening to this, I haven't forgotten about you either. All right? I need some more likes on that Spotify, Spotify. There's humble brag. There's loads of you that listen on Spotify. A lot more than have already liked it. On the reg as well. So it's easy. Just drop it a little like, all right? While I'm here plugging stuff as well, patreon.com/RTRpod. Ad-free podcasts and other like new podcasts and stuff, and some evergreen ones and stuff on there as well. Rando bits and bobs as and when they come to me. Stephen Lucy says, genuinely so Spurs, after scoring an equaliser in a game that naff, I think Romero has injured himself, kicking the advertising hoarding. I can't even. Let's not at the moment. Enes says he sees Robertson, or they see Robertson as more of a Heitinger signing. Maybe Heitinger will be the interim, not Ryan Mason. It's a fair point. Ronnie Slicer says Robertson is on Liverpool's bench. The deal is not that close yet. So I believe Ornstein said that they've taken inspiration from something weird, Semenyo's deal with Bournemouth. So they intend to keep playing Robertson till a certain point because they want to give him a proper Anfield farewell. I don't know. I think it's Ornstein that spelled it out, but there's the way in which transfers are happening now, I think, is changing. I don't know if that Antoine Semenyo deal is the one that's changed the way transfers happen, but there we go. Robert Glentworth says, play Mickey and Cootie up front and win the lot. Feels that way a little bit, doesn't it? Alex Paramore. Oh, where have you gone? Where have you gone? Where do you go, my lovely? Where do you go? I want to know, my lovely. Where do you go? I want to know. Oh, 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 oh. Who was that by? Oh, 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 oh. Where do you go? Who was that by? Na, 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 na. Someone called Ray, single by Peter Sarstead. There you go. Alex Paramore says, my 8-year-old daughter just got into football, saw Romero scored and asked why I wasn't cheering. Totally done with him. Poor girl having to watch this, Tosh. Honestly, mate. I think this a lot, you know, with the ween. I'm like, I have the power here. I have the power to say, go and support whoever, go and support Liverpool or something, you know? The thing is, if you do you know what's typical though? If it did that, Spurs would probably end up actually being good. So, soz kid. Sorry, kid. James Glanville says his subs are like a kid playing Football Manager. When we lose, just chuck on strikers and hope they score. Get him gone ASAP. Jake M95 says we are going down. Doug Drinkwater says, took me years to convince my youngest boy to switch Man City for Spurs. Thomas Frank is undoing all my hard work. T-Pace Coy says, he needs to go 100%, but the players are far too careless with the ball. Agree 100%, mate. Could be coaching, but we saw that with Ange as well. I agree. Leon Ratcliffe says, look at our next 5 fixtures. We're banging trouble. Mate, honestly, this is a drum I've been banging. February is big. It's dangerous, you know. Neil Andros says, anyone else worried where the goals are going to come from? We were so lucky with Son and Kane. James Glanville, Mason again, ole, ole. Mason again, ole, ole. Mason again, Mason again, Mason again, ole, ole. I'm trying to be quiet. I might wake the baby up downstairs. She's going for a bit of a phase now where she's suddenly becoming like, no one needs to hear about baby stuff today. People don't care. PG says, at least Moani didn't come on. There you go. Small mercies. Ricochet Pig. He's so out of touch. He's an interloper. Nobody respects him. I feel like that's kind of how I feel in a lot of my yeah, that's how I feel in a lot of my professional experiences, if I'm honest. It's funny. I hate that feeling. Don't you? Do you ever get that feeling when you're? This doesn't happen so much anymore, but like when you're a bit younger, I found that like you would sort of call up a mate or something and say, "What are you up to? Do you want to meet up?" And they'll say, "Yeah, well, actually, I'm going to this place or this pub or this gig or something with these people, but they sound like they'll like you. You'll get on with them," and you sort of think, don't really fancy it, but against my better judgment, I will go. And like genuinely, as soon as you show up, your mates, other mates are like, who's this? Why is this person here? Yeah. I've had that before. Oh, I'm not going to go into it, but there's one interaction that just sticks out for me that reminds me of. I don't know if you've seen him. There's this Liverpool lad. There's this Liverpool podcaster that does these brilliant, like amazing. I'm so jealous of how brilliant they are. Like I wish I'd thought of it first and done them. He like inserts himself into episodes of the what's it called? The Overlap. So he inserts himself into that and like tells crap jokes and all that type of thing. And, you know, he edits them in a way that the rest of the panel are like looking at him like he's a freak, basically. I recall distinctly in my like early 20s, that sort of situation I outlined there where I went out with some friends of a friend and just like, oh, God. Oh, well, that's one of those feelings you can get over most feelings, grief, anger, love, whatever. I feel like one of the feelings you can never get over is when something has truly made you cringe. When you put yourself back in the position, you say, I said that, or I did that, or, you know, oh, it's an awful feeling. Awful. Mike Hanscom says the board wanting to be seen as patient with Frank is putting us on the brink. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? It worked with Arteta, so it's going to work with him. Why? Jake Goodyear, hello, mate, says the Japanese commentators, all they could say about our equaliser is that they were surprised it wasn't a set piece. Why can't we score a goal? I want to watch on highlights. Yeah, it's miserable, innit? I hope you're doing well, mate. Jozo Bozo says Spurs win against a crap team in Europe. Is this our springboard? ? Proceed to get humiliated in the next match in the Prem. Repeat. This needs to stop. Demetrius says we're going to wrap up the title for Arsenal, aren't we? Probably. Ricochet Pig. Here we go on the Austin. I was forced to read Austin at school. Almost as boring as Frank's foot. No, get out of here. It's not. It's a brilliantly eviscerating social satire, right? You have to look at the context of when it was written, who it was written by. Look at what the the landscape was like back then, right? Brilliant. Pat Foley, I'm behaving like a schizophrenic at home with my wife and kids. It's not healthy for them and me. I'm showing signs of poor mental health. This club. Don't do anything silly, mate. Toast Malone says, does anyone know his address? Asking for a mate. I shouldn't have read that out. It's naughty. Marcy says, evening, Mr. J. Is Frank Graham Potter clone where the structure of his previous club overinflated his actual ability? Bang on. Absolutely bang on. It's that, isn't it? Roy Hodgson at Liverpool is Graham Potter. God, you see, it took me a mate saying Potter is the Sweden manager before I was getting worried about him being pictured at the game the other night, because I could have so seen Graham Potter being interim manager that does well enough to earn a permanent contract at Spurs. That was so going to happen, but it won't because he's Sweden manager, so all good. He was just there to watch Bergvall get injured. Ridley says crispy curly fries. Okay. Bit too much. Do you know what I find with crispy curly fries? They put lots of like onion powder or something on it, which repeats on me. Indigestion central for me with majority of curly fries. Twisted Complex says chip shop chips. There we go. Stagger says chip shop chips are better, but don't travel. Yeah, you can't Deliveroo chip shop, can you? I don't think so anyway. Akeem Lewis says Vicario is a hard watch. No, he's not. If there are any representatives from Inter Milan here, he is not a hard watch. He is a great watch. He is the best goalkeeper in the world. I really hope you, Inter Milan, do not sign him. I would be very upset if you did that. Please don't do that. Leon Ratcliffe says 100 mil for Van der Ven. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Lots of more question marks. Welcome in peace. It says, commentary said our centre-backs, Van der Ven and Kuti, have scored 13 goals for us this season. Might be 14 now. Our strikers, Richie, Domtel, Colo, have 14 between them, with Richie having 8 of those. That's quite mad, isn't it? Doug Drinkwater says Solanke is and always will be a rotation player for a top 10 side. The one show of Premier League strikers. Hacker CPS says somewhere in Wolverhampton there's a quizmaster looking for chips because he's gotten this telepathic call. Funnily enough, Big John Bass, who has actually started his own podcast, The Big John Bass Show, don't know how he came up with that name, was he's very good at finding podcasts, but specifically he's good at finding like limited series podcasts about a subject. A drug kingpin, a what do you call it, like dark web hitman or this or that, a ghost story. He found me a good one about a ghost story from the perspective of a skeptic. It was like a real life ghost story. It was really good, really interesting. And he just sent me one about telepathy. That there are actually strong and legitimate explorations into telepathy. Lots of links with like neurodiverse people and things like that. It's very, very fascinating. I haven't listened to it enough to give you a full synopsis, but interesting stuff. I can't even remember what it's called, like the telepathy tapes or something like that, I think. Hacker CPS said, oh yeah, he said that, the Wolverhampton thing. I think he's talking about Tom Foynes. DX2 Words Fia says, better men than Frank have flopped here. Martin Reynolds says, just heard on Sky, Romero with a late equaliser to ease pressure on Frank. Like it's a result we should be happy with. Having not lost a relegation 6-pointer. Properly bad. Gavin 6535 says Frank needs to go and he needs to take 90% of the squad with him. People are now arguing in the comments, whatever it is. Paula Mann says, like Tottenham haven't needed a complete reset for years. Yeah, sure. I don't know. Echo Sonic says, fans like me. Yeah, mate. Fans like you. It's fans like you that have meant that we drew today against Burnley. Fans like you. John W912 says, remember in the doco, they got to the canteen. It's communal. Levy was in there every day as well. It's just how they feed them. Yep, fine. Fair enough. I get your point. Paul the Man also says, Tottenham fans' solution is sack the manager. How's that working out for you? Yeah, but, sunk cost fallacy, I'd sort of put back at you there, Paul. RS9Cois969 says, it's bad when the predictability of it all prevents us from even being angry. Yeah. Simon Kelly says, the worst part is that the board probably sat on their hands after we beat Dortmund and stopped looking at the interim options, right back to where we were last week. There's a few more messages, but people are just getting angry and sort of arguing with each other, and it's lots of the same kind of talking about Thomas Frank and him needing to go. And Andy Perry, good lad here, says, Jack, thanks to these, we only look good when the game is chaotic. That's not coaching. I really don't understand what they're trying to achieve. There has been no improvement in 6 months. Yeah, I think that's a fair point, mate. There hasn't been. There's been and yeah. You've cut to the heart of it there, Andy. There's nothing to hang our hats on with this Thomas Frank project. Nothing. There's not a single thing. I genuinely don't think there is. There's not even one single bit. Like, as much as I dug out Ange towards the end last year, there were still always glimmers. There were little bits that you could say, well, there is that bit that's quite good. There is this. I like the fact that he does that. There is, for me, nothing about Thomas Frank's tenure that is positive or encouraging. Zilch. Zero. Absolutely nothing. There is nothing. If he gets sacked tomorrow, tonight, whenever, there is nothing that we will look back on and say, he did that one thing quite well. Is that harsh? I don't know. I think that's it. I think that's all I've got the gumption for tonight. Yeah. I might go and watch. I might watch Bugonia tonight. How about that? Anyone else seen that? I'm not actually the biggest Yorgos Lanthimos fan, but apparently it's very, very good. And Jesse Plemons, especially, is particularly exceptional in it. So let's give it a go. I still want to watch The Bone Temple, that new 28 Years Later film. A lot of Ralph Fiennes in it. Memento Mori. Very, very good. Much love, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in. Again, if you are watching on YouTube, please drop it a like. Subscribe. Go on, subscribe. Get me up to 4,000 subs. If you're listening, like, all that type of thing. But more, really, I just appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thanks for taking the time and all that. What do we say about Spurs? Who knows? I don't know anymore. Do any of you know? No. So, whatever. Still, come on, you Spurs. Tottenham till I die and all that.